We're going for more afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hushed silence.
Great rescue sample.
Which one did you go for, man? The old one or the ginger? No, just a.
You can take a picture when in text.
And it translates.
It's got a play different sort of language, and you can actually press. Actually speak.
Does it do that to teenage language?
Okay, all right, we're live and good to go. Okay, so okay, everyone, welcome to this meeting of the Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education on Monday, the 29th of September 2025 at Charter School. As it's the start of the new academic year for 2025-26, the first item of business is to elect a chair and vice chair for this new academic year. So starting off with the chair. So does anyone have any nomination for chair of SACRE? Barbara?
Karen.
To propose Karen. So do we have a seconder? Maureen. So seconded by Maureen. So are we all in agreement? Okay, yeah. So Karen is chair of SACRE for 2025-26 academic year. Now onto the vice chair. So any nominations? So was it Maureen? Do you propose? No, and who seconds that? Mike. So all in agreement? All in agreement. Okay, so Barbara is vice chair of SACRE for 2025-26. So Karen, as chair, do you wanna proceed?
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Hope everybody can hear me and see me okay. This is a really weird set of circumstances, being online and yet not being able to quite see everybody in the room. So can I just say that I can see Anthony and everybody round from Anthony to Laura. But if there's anyone else in the room apart from Lawrence, who I know is there because I can hear his voice, I can't see you. So Barbara, you're going to have to say if somebody wants to speak and they aren't within my vision, please.
That's all we've got at the moment. Everyone that's in the room is all we've got at the minute.
Okay, everybody I can see.
Yeah, apart from Lawrence.
That's great. That's lovely. Okay, well, can I first of all explain why I am not with you? For those people who don't know, I wasn't drinking, honestly, hadn't had anything to drink, despite various allegations. I had an accident at the weekend and I fractured my left wrist and 2 bones in my right hand. So as far as helping myself at the moment, I have 2 good fingers and a thumb. So it's an exercise in resilience and imagination, but it doesn't enable me under the current law to drive a car. So I physically couldn't get to Ascot, although I was supposed to be at a funeral this afternoon and then I was coming on to you, and I am much miffed to have missed the windmill. So Maureen will go again if that's all right, and anybody else who wants to join us. So apologies for the fact that I am strangely chairing online, although this doesn't seem strange in the December meeting because we're all online. But I am strangely chairing online a group of people in a school. So if it all goes wrong, I'm going to pass over to Barbara, who's going to very ably step into my shoes. But first of all, I want to welcome, well, I was going to welcome 2 people. I know one person is here, and that's Peter, because he's online, Peter Cranch. And Peter is the pastor at Blenheim Free Church in Maidenhead. So really pleased that you could be with us, Peter. And you're hoping, well, you're here to observe and see whether or not you feel this kind of meeting that we have 4 times a year, 3 in person, one online or all online or whatever it suits you. It's the sort of meeting that you feel would be useful for you to attend and spend your time attending. So very warm welcome from us here, and maybe after the meeting at some point you'll get back to me, tell me what you think.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us. And I was hoping to welcome Councillor Teasy, but she's not there yet, Lawrence.
She's there.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Can you just put your hand? Oh, great. Lovely. Councillor Teasy, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for completing the trio of councillors and for sorting out the gender issue. So we used to have some really good input from both the men and the women councillors who were on SACRE in the previous administration, and I'm sure we can look forward to some from you as well. So I'm really grateful to you that you've made up that gap and you've stepped forward. So welcome to the meeting. That's excellent.
Karen, sorry to interrupt. I got a notice from Karen Waller. She's in the lobby, so I think Maureen, you'll be able to collect us, please. Thank you.
That's smashing. Thank you very much. Lawrence, can I pass over to you for apologies for absence, please?
Can do, Chair. Unless you want to do introductions of everyone, or do you want to do that during the membership?
Well, if you do the apologies for absence, that'll give Karen a time to get into the room, and then we can go round.
Okay, sure. So, apologies received from Councillor Richard Coe. As Rajnish is not online, he's given his Rajnish Kashyap has given his apologies as he's not attending. He gave notice for that, and Vicky Davidson.
Thank you. Yes, I think Vicky's got some issues she's dealing with this evening.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in a moment, we're going to hand over to Maureen when she comes back to do what we do at the beginning of every meeting where we go somewhere. Just this for Peter and Councillor Teasy's information, where we are going somewhere where we haven't been before, whether it's a school or it's a place of worship. Up to the first half an hour is dedicated to the person who's hosting to talk about the place where we are. And we've had some fascinating meetings with Ravinda at the Gurdwara in Maidenhead. And last time, Barbara, you were, I was going to say manfully, it sounds a bit sexist, that you were boldly, bravely trying to make up for the fact that we couldn't get into the Catholic Church in Windsor, and telling us what you knew about it. And I remember it was a very hot evening, very different from how things are now.
One day.
Yeah. And we went to Maidenhead Synagogue, and Dale gave us an introduction there, which was fascinating. And then we've been to almost all the schools apart from Windsor Girls, because Shadia is relatively new on SACRE. And I do remember, Rachel, we haven't yet been to Eton Pawnee, but you can bet your bottom dollar I shall be coming to you and saying, can we do that, please, at some point? But it's a really good way of people getting to know a bit about either the school where they are or the place of worship.
Laura, we've just had 2 people join us. Hi, welcome. Looks like you want to help yourself. Right. Lauren's on the screen, and she can't make it in person today. So we're going to be in the lobby for a while. Okay, Karen.
So who's just joined? Sorry, the sound isn't very good. I can hear Lawrence really well, but I can't hear anybody else terribly well.
Do you want us to go around and introduce ourselves?
I think that would be a good idea if we could do. Yeah, if we could start maybe Lawrence with you and go around the table and then we'll go online.
If I move it, because I think Karen can't see those 2 positions there. So if I move around here and sit next to Sagia, that releases the space up here.
That would be great. Thank you, Mike. That's really helpful.
See everybody. Get off the roll.
I do like to see people.
Yeah, this one here if you want.
Oh, I'm okay. All right, it's right.
Okay. We okay?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, right. Lawrence, if you could start, please.
I think Lawrence Ellis, Democrat Citizen Club to the SACRE.
Okay,
Anthony Lewis, representing humanism. Syria Ahmed, representing Islam, chair of the Median Mosque.
Michael Gamage, representing the Baha'i community.
Barbara Meany, representing the Catholics.
Councillor Amy Teasy for RBWM. I'm the lead member for Children's Services and I'm actually a teacher by profession.
oh, excellent.
Diane Anderson from Windsor Girls, head of RE.
And Helen Streley, I'm representative of RBWM as well, work for AFC.
I'm Karen Waller, representing her teachers.
I'm Laura Dexter, assistant head teacher at First Time for School.
Okay, well, are we on to the online people now?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, I think you guessed I'm the chair because you just voted me in. And next, I think, Katie, would you like to say something?
You're on mute, Katie.
Yeah, you need to unmute. Oops, Katie's disappeared.
Is she gone?
No, she's back. She just needs to unmute.
Sorry about that, everybody. Yes, I'm Katie Dickens. I'm the RE advisor, and I'm sorry I'm not there as well. Apologies for that.
Thank you. Chris, are you there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm there, Karen. Yes, so I'm Chris. I'm representing the Buddhists.
Have you got a camera? Or
camera to work, which is why
you're black.
You see me. Sorry about that.
Okay, not to worry. Margaret?
Yes, hello, I'm Margaret Smith. I'm representing Quakers. Sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I'm without a car today.
Okay, thank you very much. Dale?
Hi, I'm Dale. I'm representing Judaism. Again, sorry for absence, but just distance from work didn't quite work with timings for me.
Thank you, Dale. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am the reception teacher at Eton Pawnee, but I'm actually representing Church of England.
Thank you, Rachel.
I couldn't make it today.
Peter, do you want to say just a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, so I'm the pastor of Blenheim Free Church in Maidenhead, so that's a free independent church. I've got 4 children who are all in schools, 3 different schools as it happens, in Maidenhead, 3 boys and a girl. So I've got a connection to schools there. I'm also a trustee of Christian Connections in Schools, which employs Wayne Dixon and Beth Gom, who some of you will know from going into schools.
I'm sure so. Okay, so I think we're missing probably Shanaz and
Arrived. She's just arrived.
Has she? Great.
She's
Okay.
sitting next to Laura.
Okay, well, Barbara, when it comes to people speaking in the meeting where
I'll give you a shout.
Give me a shout, stop me in my tracks, interrupt, do what you need to do. Just, you know, be what you do supposed to be. Which is
pain.
Yeah. Okay. At long last, and with great gratitude to Maureen, I do want to thank you, Maureen, for allowing us to meet at Charters, whether we're virtual or in the flesh. I'm going to hand over to you to tell us something about Charters and your work as head of RE, and if you can, something about collective worship too.
Welcome everyone. Going to Stamber.
No, you're fine.
Welcome to Charters. I've certainly got my steps in today. So Lauren's got a presentation because I prepared a little presentation to make it a bit easier to talk about what we do here at Charters. So whilst you're doing that, collective worship is very much done centrally by the senior leadership team, and RE does a couple in the year. We do spring festivals and we do winter festivals, and that's about it really. Last year Mike came and did some lovely assemblies about the Baha'i faith and had rave reviews from both students and teachers learning for the first time about the Baha'i faith. We didn't hear much No one some of them didn't even know that such a faith existed, so it was really an eye-opener and a good way to promote unity and develop students' curiosity about faiths, different faiths, so that was lovely. In terms of our own RE curriculum, I think it's best to start with a vision. The vision for RE at Charter School is inspired by 4 main things. 1, the local agreed syllabus. It's also inspired by the National Content Standard and the purposes of RE outlined in the National Content Standard, which is also outlined in the new draft of the agreed syllabus. It's also inspired by Dr. Richard Quay, the RS Review, and finally by the school vision or ethos and our values about unity, respect and excellence, which feeds beautifully into our subject, because I think we represent that in terms of being inclusive in RE. So students are curious about questions that affect the human experience, and they're inspired by religious and non-religious responses to these. And we aim to engage in a rich and diverse program of study based on religion and other worldviews, because as you know, we have to include other worldviews in our religious education now, both locally and globally. And in keeping with the Charter's core values, we engage in a curriculum that is ambitious, challenging and inclusive. So all religions have a look in, religion and non-religious views are sort of accounted for in our religious education curriculum. For sixth form, it's a little bit more complex to reflect the complexity of what they learn at sixth form. So we engage in a rich and stimulating program of study based on philosophical ethical questions and theology. And with the hope that students at the end of their journey through Charter School, because we see education as very much a journey, they will finish with a sophisticated understanding of epistemological questions about the nature, origin, and limits of knowledge, as well as metaphysical questions about the nature of reality, with reference to philosophers such as Plato, etc. And the whole aim behind that is to prepare them, to make them develop as critical thinkers to take their place in a diverse world, leaving as optimally developed students or optimally developed young adults at the end of their journey. So what does that look like? What does that mean for us? We aim, I must point out that this is my 3rd year at Charter, so we're still very much in transition. We've had last year a team of 3. This year we're down to a team of 2, which means this year we have some non-specialists delivering. We had some people who have retired, and those people who have retired, they were valuable members of the team, but as they retired, we needed to sort of recruit people with new people with enthusiasm to deliver high quality RE lessons is what we're aiming to achieve. And it's still very much in transition over the 3-year plan that I've put together for developing RE. So you notice there I've highlighted high quality RE on Lauren in the next slide. Lawrence, sorry. Yeah. Keep going, one more. Thank you. So high quality RE is what we aim to achieve. And what does that look like? So pupils get opportunities to develop spiritually, morally, socially, and culturally as they reflect on their own beliefs, being able to be discerning about many attitudes and opinions they will encounter. We hope for them to gain knowledge and understanding of a range of religions and worldviews, including humanism and sentientism, and use that knowledge to engage in informed and balanced debates rather than relying on what they've heard online, just having proper academic RE. What is taught and learned in RE is grounded in what is known about religion and non-religion from academic studies. So the next slide, please, Lawrence. I sound like this guy, you know, the guy from COVID, Richard. Next slide, please. So we're hoping for the students in lessons, this is what we're aiming for, to stimulate their curiosity about different religions in this diverse and complex world that we have. So RS lessons provide opportunities for pupils to reflect on the relationship between their personal worldviews and the content studied, equipping them to develop their own informed responses in light of their learning. So Lawrence, next slide, please. Thank you. So this video is one of my main inspirations, and I wanted to share it with you. Factors that influence the quality of RE, religious education in schools. So if you could play that first, please, Lawrence. Oops, does it not work? Is it not hyperlinked?
No.
But forget it. But those of us who know Dr. Richard Quay, he's the HMI inspector for RS, and he led the RS reviews. And so, having read his work from the RS reviews, he inspired me a lot in terms of what do I want RE to look like in charters. So let's move on. So let's start with what high quality RE is not inspired by him. It's not watching a film for the entire lessons. In the old dispensation, we had a lot of that, and it took a while to change that sort of mindset when I took over as head of RE of, oh, let's watch this film for the whole lesson. That's not what it is. It's not surface level questioning or discussion. It's not stereotyping religions and worldviews like Christians believe this, Muslims believe this, humanists believe that. It's understanding the nuances of religions, the complexity of religion, the diversity within religion. And it's not exclusively about some substantive knowledge. It's also about disciplinary knowledge, ways of knowing. And it's not just about covering a wide range of topics about one theme or one religion. It goes a bit deeper than that, delving down. So let's go to the next slide. So the words highlighted are taken from Richard Quay's work, Dr. Richard Quay. And he says, RE curriculum must ensure what is taught and learned in RE is grounded in what is known about religion and non-religion from academic study. And the rationale for that is that it helps pupils, it prevents pupils from developing misconceptions about religion and religion, particularly through generalizing, stereotyping, or essentializing, which is the idea, for example, that Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God. We have been taught this misconception for ages, and we think all Christians believe that. But there are Christians who do not believe Jesus is the Son of God. They're in the minority, but they are there. They don't believe, and as one of the ways of believing and thinking. There should also be a consideration of when people should relate content of the lesson to their own personal knowledge. For example, challenge prior assumptions. At the moment, I'm teaching year 10 RE. We're looking at the origin of the world. And a lot of them believe that Christians take the creation story literally. Some might do, but some might not. So it's getting them to challenge those misconceptions about Christianity and realizing that that is not the case for all Christians. So that's part of high quality RE. Next slide, please. Lawrence, thank you. Richard Quay in his work talked about teachers make decisions about teaching that enable pupils to build forms of knowledge distinctive to RE. So these three forms of knowledge are a key part of the curriculum we have here at Charters. The substantive knowledge, disciplinary knowledge, and personal knowledge. And each lesson is planned with that in mind. And the assessment that they do is also planned with that in mind. So what do we mean when we talk about substantive knowledge? It's the content and concepts of religious and non-religious traditions that pupils know and remember. Disciplinary knowledge are the ways of knowing, which is to do with building knowledge, of being scholarly in RE. So this might include hermeneutics. You get a scripture, you get a passage, you interpret it. Use particular skills to interpret this passage. You look at the context. What was the purpose of the passage? Why was that written? Who was writing it? Was it written to as a book of law? Was it written as to provide some historical ideas of what they believed at that time? So there are certain skills that students need to learn, and that's what the HMI inspector says that we should be focusing on RE. So I'm trying to make sure that that comes across in my curriculum here at Charters. So hermeneutics is one example, sociology, looking at religious practices across different religions and non-religious practices. We look at analysis of data. So for example, I'm teaching about Islam. When I introduce Islam, I look at the national census data, what percentage of the country is at the moment is Muslims. So all of those things are about delivering disciplinary knowledge, high quality RE. We try to engage in debate, thought experiments like the trolley problem, critical thinking. It's such a pity. Oh, I think I've got something to show you in a bit about them sort of students using what they learned to engage in critical thinking and looking at these thought experiments. So in high quality RE, ways of knowing are appropriately taught alongside substantive knowledge, and they're not isolated from it. It's not like, oh, Muslims believe this, but we need to look at the context of, well, how do we know what Muslims believe? What are the best sources to go to gather Muslim beliefs, or Christian beliefs, or humanist beliefs, or the beliefs of the Baha'i faith? And that is the ways of knowing that students need to be taught in high quality RE, according to Dr. Richard Quay. Can we skip a few slides, please? Just skip until you see a spirally thing. Keep going back. That's it. So we have, in terms of our curriculum design, we design a spiral curriculum. And that means we introduce knowledge, we introduce some content, we revisit it in year 8, then we expand on that knowledge, we go into depth. We revisit it in year 9, then we go down, and then we revisit it in year 10. And so there's a clear path on that journey to success. It's a learning journey. And each time you revisit it, you go deeper. So the depth comes from, the depth is, if you like, it's almost, it goes as students go, it increases in complexity and depth. So we teach Islam in year 7, but we're also revisiting Islam in year 8. We're also revisiting it depending on, because we use a thematic approach. So if we teach Islam introduction in year 7, we might introduce Muhammad as one of the key founders of the religion. Then in year 8, we look at different beliefs about God, but we talk about what Muslims believe about. So continuously along that journey, woven through that golden thread, they are doing Islam each time. And each time they revisit prior knowledge, it's sort of making those connections in the brains, those neurons, making sure learning happens. So the end goal is so that they can remember more, know more, and can do more. So I'm just going to skip over this because I've kind of talked about that. So it says in relation to curriculum design, leaders in secondary school should design the curriculum to meet or exceed exam board specifications rather than be driven by them. We should provide opportunities for students to review and build on important knowledge over time. Hence that spiral that I spoke to you about. They review and build, making sure those neurons are connected, learning as they go along. What does it look like in terms of assessment? They recommend using what we call composite assessments, which test not just the substantive knowledge, but the disciplinary knowledge as well. So composite assessment also sometimes used in RE to establish whether pupils have learned the curriculum. For example, RE teachers might assess ways of knowing through ways that pupils use the substantive content and concepts to respond to a question. So we can check whether pupils have learned modes of discourse or ways of knowing. We can check that pupils can account for their own personality, positionality, their own personal knowledge. So let me give you an example for going back to, let's use one from year 11s. I gave my year 11s a question last year. Science proves that God did not create the universe. Discuss. Now, in order to answer that question, they need to know some disciplinary knowledge, ways of knowing. To answer that question, they need also to know the substantive knowledge. What might Christians say about that? What might the Big Bang Theory say about that? What might humanists say about that? So in order to answer that question, they're drawing on their disciplinary knowledge and their substantive knowledge. That makes it a composite assessment. Next slide, please. Just skip a few until I tell you to stop. Keep going. One more. And again. Keep going. No, go back, sorry, go back. My apologies. Yeah. So it's the assessment they recommend. Assessment is often seen in some schools as separate from what you teach, separate from your curriculum plan. The assessment is part of your curriculum design. So as we're planning our RE curriculum and the content that we're going to teach, we're looking at the same time as I'm planning, that's what we do at Charters. What am I going to be assessing? How is this going to fit into the assessment scheme? So they're seen as two things that work together. There's that link between what we're assessing and what we're teaching. So it says here, and this is the recommendation again from Richard Quay. I feel like he's my best friend. I love him. I love what he says. I like what he presents in his research. He says they're precisely tuned to the knowledge in the curriculum they intend for pupils to learn. So when we're testing pupils to make it a valid assessment, we can't be assessing them on something that they've not been taught. it needs, the validity comes with assessing them on exactly what you've taught them. They provide opportunities for teachers to reflect on how different assessment questions and tasks in RE can frame teachers and pupils' expectations about engaging with religious and non-religious traditions. For example, include scholarly references. According to the creation story in Genesis, according to J.L. Mackey, we're doing a question on whether the problem of evil and suffering proves that God is not all loving. And we talk about J.L. Mackey's inconsistent triad. They draw on that and they're writing some beautiful pieces of work as a consequence of including that disciplinary knowledge, how we know what we know and where the knowledge in RE comes from. So obviously we've got the curriculum, the implementation, the impact. The impact, this is the intended impact, and we're seeing some of this. Pupils are then prepared to engage with a complex and diverse, multi-religious and multi-secular society. Learning how others live in different ways can help to foster tolerance for the people around them, respect for others, and it can build good community relations. So that is sort of the soft skills we're hoping to develop behind the scenes. That's one of the impact. But in terms of the checking the impact from a curriculum perspective, we're hoping that at the end of it, pupils know more, remember more, and can do more at the end of it. And we check this in various ways in charters. So we check it through knowledge retrieval tests at the end of a unit. But at the end of the year, we have a big summative assessment, which includes a bit of knowledge retrieval alongside, next slide, please, Lawrence, alongside extended writing tasks. And again, please. So just thought I'd talk briefly about our results. So A-level, we had 70% A start to C for many students. The top grades are going up. So we're getting more A stars over the last 2 years, which is positive for me to see. Obviously, still work in progress. We're still not where we want to be. We still want to be higher than that. But that's a very good impact thus far. So the average grade for this group that has just sat their exams was a C+. So obviously I said I wanted that to be better. So that's an area for me going forward into the new academic year to challenge myself to get those CD borderline students going up to sort of Bs and higher grades. The residual, this is very much teacher language, so my apologies, I'll explain what the residual is. The residual basically compares how your students in your subject are performing in comparison to, let's say, English, math, science, history, etc. So in RE, we had a positive residual. Positive residual means that they're performing marginally better because it's just 0.26. A negative residual would mean they're performing worse than other subjects. But in RE, if we're getting that grade at A level, I am proud of that because in comparison to other subjects, they are doing better. Even if it's a small success, I'm happy with that. SPI, which is a subject progress index, and that indicates to us how they're performing on average relative to the national picture. For A levels, it was a 0, which means that it's on par, the same starting point. So pupils with the same starting point in RS nationally, they're performing just as good as, not better than, not worse than, just as good as students in the subject nationally. So that also for me is a small success that I feel like I should celebrate. GCSE was much better. So one slide next, please, Lawrence. We had 77% grades 9 to 4. We only had a small cohort last year, and that cohort I inherited because I started, like I said, this is my third year, yeah. I inherited that small cohort. Since I've started, it's gone up to, we have got 2 teaching groups now. So that's also positive because it means that pupils are enjoying RE more. So they're selecting it as an option. So that's another positive impact in terms of the changes that we've made over the last 2 years. Again, this residual is much better than even A-level residual. This is positive 0.32, which means that on average, they're getting a third of a grade above their performance in other subjects, which makes me very pleased. SPI, again, this one marginally better than students with similar starting points nationally. So some really positive impacts, and I've got some people voice. That's it, Lawrence, thank you. So we couldn't show the videos because we were scared that it was going to go online and students on the videos for safeguarding purposes. So I've got some sheets with pupils just giving their views about RE, and I've passed them around so that you can just have a little look on what they've said about RE lessons and what they like. So they just circulate them. And also what they don't like, they're very honest. They'll tell you what they want more of as well.
Can we read some of them out? So they can we read some of them out? So
That would
they
be
can hear
great,
it?
that would be lovely, yeah, that would be lovely.
Who would like to read?
I'll read.
Yeah, Charles is going to read some out to you, Karen.
Lovely. Thank you.
Why is RE important? It helps people to learn about other people's lives. You can build your knowledge, and we've got how can we make it better? Have more large group arguments and debating, more inclusive, talking about other religions, and more about past and present and future conflicts.
Thank you.
Okay. Why we need religious studies. It will help people understand the circumstances that other people have to endure due to conflicts. It can help people understand other people's views and religious beliefs. It can teach people how to support others. That's nice.
Yeah, it's
Great.
Anything on that purple sheet?
RE creates empathetic and understanding spaces for students. It boosts cognitive thinking and builds vocabulary and new knowledge. And learn more about smaller religions and cultures to promote inclusivity to all people.
That's great.
More trips to places that relate. So a couple of them said as a even better if more trips they'd like to.
Yeah.
So us being really engaging in wanting to go to places. It's good.
Anything on the sheet?
Yeah, they've got informative videos, which enables them to learn more about diverse religions and unconventional or rarer beliefs across the world, linking RS with other subjects.
They like sweets, but they like rewards. Or they said rewards and incentives makes people try harder. They like discussion because you can voice and listen to opinions. They love the interactive lessons, debates which expand people's views, quizzes that test knowledge in a fun manner, and discussions to show your opinion.
Can I just point out that is the thumbs up crew?
Yeah.
They call themselves the thumbs up crew, so we're getting a thumbs up from this.
You are.
Very nice. I'm really proud of them.
What year group are they?
These are mostly year 9s wrote that. Yeah.
Well, Maureen, that was really, really powerful, your presentation there. I'm so pleased that you had that opportunity to share what you're doing at Charters. You are clearly making a big, big difference. So well done, if that doesn't sound patronising. And thank you so much for sharing the views of the youngsters. There is nothing like hearing a customer's viewpoint. It should be the driving force, really. I am aware, I'm going to invite Ravinda to come in, please, because Ravinda posted a question part of the way through the presentation, and I want you to be able to ask it yourself, Ravinda.
Hi, just a question, because as we were going through the presentation, I joined late. Maybe you have come.
You've muted, Ravinda. You need to unmute.
Sikh, Hindu, Buddhist, Baha'is, or others.
Could you repeat the question, because you were muted for part of it?
Okay. So my question is that around other religions, are you including?
What religions are you including?
Because we use a thematic approach, it gives us an opportunity to be very inclusive in RE. So when we look at different beliefs about God, we can include Sikh beliefs, Jewish beliefs, Muslim beliefs, and look at how that influence them and impact on their daily lives. So the thematic approach allows us, obviously because of the local agreed syllabus at Key Stage 3, we need to focus on 3 main religions according to the syllabus: Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity. But because of my approach at Charters, it allows us to include Sikhism, Hinduism, and other faiths as well. Because it's thematic, it doesn't exclude any religion. We try to be as inclusive as we possibly can. That answer the question, Ravinda? Yeah?
Yes, partly, yes.
It's always, I should think, a challenge to try and include as much as you'd want to include, because I'm always aware of Anthony sitting there thinking, and hang on a minute, what about the people who don't have
it's in there. It's in there. It's
I'm sure it is. Are there any other questions anyone would like to ask? relating to Maureen's presentation?
Where do you take them for trips? So I've been to SIAMS, and that's the one we've gone to the church, but we need to do more. Like they love trips. It's a big undertaking.
Yeah.
We've got 270 in each year group. So when we want to take a year group, it's but yeah, the plan is to do more trips, but we've been to the SIAMS, Ravinda. We visited your Gurdwara in Slough, the Guru Manaya Gurdwara. Beautiful Gurdwara. Have you been?
Yes.
Really lovely. Yeah.
Do the A-level students do any additional?
They've done this year. We have a lovely group, which I've said to them we're going to plan trips to like conferences, and because if they're A-level, it's easy for us to jump on the train and just go.
Yes, and timetabling wise, there's a bit more flexibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to be returning to this theme at least once, if not twice, if not more than that, during the course of the meeting. I mean, SACRE being the vision of where to go to find the people to lead you to the place of worship that the youngsters want to visit. And I know there are practical issues there, but these practical issues can sometimes be overcome if there's a willingness for people to host such visits. And I do see SACRE as being the door to all of these religions that certainly Group A represent, and Group B as well. Well, thank you once again, Maureen, for a really spirited and powerful presentation. And I can see that, as everyone else can, that your impact, even in the 3 years you've been at the school, although that you said this was your 3rd year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've only been here 2 years and you've picked up what other teachers have done before you. And it seems to me that by the increase of numbers, the take-up, the popularity, and all the rest of it, plus the factual evidence of your outcomes, it's just very good to see the power of what you are doing and the positive impact. The school must be very pleased. Thank you so much. Okay, if we could go on with the agenda then. I'm just aware of time. It's 5:45 and we are not going to be a moment beyond 7. If I can have anything to do with it, I just beg your patience if it takes me just a minute or two to get through some of these papers, because I've literally got 2 fingers and a thumb to turn everything over with, and it's a bit tedious when they're stapled. Shouldn't perhaps have done that. Okay, looking at the minutes of the meeting that we had on the 23rd of June, then in that Catholic church, bottom of page 3. Barbara, did you share the contact details to facilitate school visits, picking up that theme?
The RE Hub.
No, I'm talking about the to get to St Edward the Confessor Church. The action was that you would share the contact details to facilitate school visits to that church.
I'm going to defer to Lawrence because it was that long ago. I don't think I did I?
Yeah.
What was the answer to that, Laura? Sorry.
Lawrence is checking.
He's checking.
I can't remember whether I did or not.
Okay.
I can share. I'll share again, Lawrence. We'll put it that way. I'll share again.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Towards the bottom of page 4, I'd like to discuss that action there, which is about Katie possibly taking SACRE members or not to make monitoring visits to borough schools. I'd like to discuss that under item 10 in the draft development plan, please, if we could defer that. Over on page 5, Tom is lost somewhere on his way to the school in a car that has been breaking down. I'm not sure where he is, if he's communicated with you, Lawrence, at all, but I know he doesn't mean to be lost. He's with us in spirit, but he hasn't got quite to Charters yet. And so I don't know, but Maureen, you might know. Have you exchanged your summary of each other's schools yet?
No problem. And we've done it. I promise you we've done it. I've seen his and I've got mine.
Okay, good. So you've exchanged, and that follows a day that he spent at Charters and you spent at Churchmead.
Yeah.
We want to have more days. The next item at the action on page 5 is Katie reminding schools in the newsletter on the expectations of RE, which I think were writ large, weren't they, Katie, at the beginning of your most recent newsletter?
Yes, Karen, I did put that in at the beginning. Hopefully that was helpful to everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Laura's scrapbook seems to follow us from meeting to meeting to meeting. I don't know when it's going to be appropriate for you to share it with people at the next network meeting, Laura, but if you could do that at some point, that would be good. Then we've got that off the agenda. The next action point is on page 7. I don't know whether anybody did email you, Katie, questions on collective worship, which you were wanting to collect so that you could address them in RE newsletters that you put together. Has anybody sent you anything, Katie?
No, I didn't have anything, Karen, but I did put links in the chat to help people at the time when we were talking about it. So hopefully that was helpful too.
Yeah. Okay. I'm wondering whether, Lawrence, could you revisit the chat, please, from the last meeting and just pick out those bits and pieces that Katie put in for us? Make a little document, if you wouldn't mind, please, and that will start us off on the road of good practice.
Let me just double check.
Is that okay? The action at the bottom of page 7, reviewing the newsletter distribution list. I don't know whether anything's been done about that or not. Any action taken by anybody, do we know? I think I perhaps need to revisit that. Page 8, Rachel, you were going to share some information about interfaith events.
I completely forgot, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And Sally, our vicar, has retired over the summer, but there's other people from church involved in that, so I will speak to them.
Well, yeah. Interfaith comes up on the agenda because it's the interfaith, the time of year when schools address interfaith issues in November. So we'll revisit that, and I'm going to invite Mike Gamish to say something about an event that's happening for interfaith celebrations as well. And you'll see for the bottom of page 10 that we aimed to reschedule this meeting, which we did do in respect of the Jewish faith, and to enable us to talk some more about the agreed syllabus, and more of that anon. So if there are no other issues to do with the minutes, we'll march on to the next item on the agenda, which is the agreed syllabus for RE. And I'm going to ask Katie if you wouldn't mind just leading on this one, please.
Before we move on, we need to approve the minutes for the last meeting.
Sorry, Lawrence, say again.
Need to approve the minutes from the last meeting before.
Okay. Are we happy then? Are people happy that they're a true record?
Yeah.
Some nodding. Okay. Is that all right, Lawrence?
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Katie.
Okay, so as you may know, we decided that we would recall the ASC to support the review of the syllabus to take into consideration some of the amendments that Dale has proposed. The situation is that we were going to talk about that and do the ASC as part of this evening's meeting. However, having spoken with the local authority, and Helen is part of the group there at Charters, and we've also spoken to Clive Haynes, who is the Deputy Director for Education, I believe. We have decided to postpone it because we feel it's really important that we get the process correct, and that we ensure that everybody has the opportunity to look at all the amendments in their own time. So what we're proposing to do is take the documentation that has been received from Dale, do some work with the legal teams, look at what's happening in Bracknell Forest, what's happening in Reading, in terms of what they have done, because I'm supporting them as the RE advisor as well. And then hopefully we can set aside a date later this year to recall the ASC at a point where everybody's had a chance to look at the amendments and be able to talk about them in a really robust and open manner. So I hope that's all right, by way of sort of introduction of what we've decided to do.
Yeah, Katie, may I just
please do.
Apologies for interjecting, but just for the information for people like Peter and Councillor Teasey who are new, the ASC stands for the Agreed Syllabus Conference, and it simply means a meeting which is dedicated to reviewing a syllabus. And every 5 years, the local authority has to refresh and review its local agreed syllabus for religious education and collective worship. And it's been doing it historically in tandem with the other 5 bits of Berkshire. And we did the same this year. We spent about 2 years in tandem with Wokingham and Slough and West Berkshire and Bracknell and Reading, reviewing the syllabus. And we got to the point where we thought we had all come to an agreement about what should go in the new syllabus for the next 5 years. And then these amendments have emerged from the Jewish faith. And so we feel that even though we had signed it off, it's clear that there was a need for us to revise it. And that's why we haven't yet properly launched it within the Royal Borough as the new agreed syllabus. And we will do that when we have looked at these amendments and when we have signed them off. And it seemed very wise to take account of what happened in the other local authorities as well before we had our ASC. So we'll probably have an online ASC dedicated to just signing off those amendments, and then we can have a proper civic launch. So I hope that explains it a little bit more. Otherwise, it can sound a bit like some sort of a secret society if you don't know what the acronyms stand for. Anything more to add, Katie?
Karen, I've got a question. How big are the amendments? Are we talking about something that's big here, or is it fairly minor?
So I'm happy to field that, Karen. So just to give you a bit of context, Anthony, the process was started in Wokingham by the Jewish representative and the Wokingham SACRE. It did take a couple of evenings to work through the amendments so that everybody was comfortable with what those amendments would be. And what we're trying to do is learn from that process, and we're working with Dale and other members of the Jewish community who've been supporting him with the amendments to make sure that everybody's comfortable with what's proposed. Now, the slightly tricky bit, and the thing that's going to take a little bit of time, is we need to look at what was proposed by RBWM in the initial iteration of the syllabus last October, and look at the amendments which are being proposed by Dale and members of the Jewish faith. Now, the document that we've received is probably about 20 pages long, but what I would say to you is that some of those are typos, and sort of some very sort of things that we might want to discuss and have on the agenda going forward, perhaps in the next syllabus. But the main points, and Dale, please jump in if you're happy to, is really just to think about the content and the wording of some of the questions for consideration as part of the curriculum, so that they are brought into line with the wording of those of other faiths, and also some of the content, just to make sure that it's absolutely accurate. So, Paul, is there anything you'd like to say on that?
No, I think that's a really good summary of it. I think the main thing for us is, as you've said, some of the questions are the exact same for every single faith, and then it comes to the Jewish question, and for some reason the question changes. And it's this weird anomaly that there's not really a rationale for. There's no reason that the Jewish question can't be the same as the others. So it's not necessarily a massive overhaul of like the whole curriculum or anything. They're minor edits just to bring it so it is equal across the different faiths, is I would say, the focus really. And as you say, a few other minor sort of amendments that are just about bringing in accuracy of some of the things to do with the Jewish faith, where there's been some things left out and some things that aren't quite worded in a way that really matches the sort of diversity of the Jewish community. So it's that kind of thing as well. But it's not just about Judaism as well. Some of the amendments, when you see the document, are about other faiths as well. So that's just something to have a look at as well.
So that sounds reassuring.
I think what we wanted to do, what has been suggested, Anthony, is that following on from this meeting, the documents that Dale has sent through to the borough and to Katie's referred to, and I've had them as well, should be circulated to all SACRE members so that when it's appropriate for them, when they have time, when they feel it's okay, and they can address these things, they can read them at the time that suits them. It gives you plenty of time to look through and see what there is there that's changed, and to understand that before we get to the next ASC meeting. And I think we're talking about November, Katie, possibly for an online ASC meeting.
Yeah, we just need to find a date really that it doesn't clash with anything, you know, taking into consideration religious festivals as well as council meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure if we've got the date of the last of the other meetings in Reading and Bracknell, then if you could let Lawrence know what those meeting dates are, so we can find our ASC date that's beyond those meetings, and then if perhaps Lawrence can have a look to see what council meetings there might be to clash with it, try and find a date for us to have an online meeting, and look at the diary and check that we're not infringing anybody's faith celebrations. Okay, I hope that's all self-explanatory. We will get there in the end, and although it may not be a Berkshire agreed syllabus, it will be largely a Berkshire agreed syllabus. Okay, any other questions from anyone else on the agreed syllabus?
Can I just check, because lots of teachers are asking, because we have had obviously like a syllabus launch has happened. So our party line at the moment is we don't touch that new curriculum until we've looked at it again as a SACRE.
That's correct.
Yeah, because obviously teachers are receiving emails from some of the schemes of work that they're using saying, oh, you know, there's lots of complications going on, we'll be in touch soon. So basically our party line is we don't touch it yet.
I think that's very wise, and I think the advisors that conducted that, what you described as a launch, were very clear to say it was a training event.
Yeah.
They were very careful around that, because we were aware that there were some concerns around what was in the syllabus, and I think it's worth just letting everybody know that any member of SACRE can ask for a review of the syllabus at any time, you know, so it's absolutely within process and protocol that this has happened. It's just that we want to make sure that it's right and that everybody's comfortable with it, and that we have that robust discussion. So I think going forward, I think you're absolutely right. Sorry, I'm not quite sure who talked, but
Laura,
yes, please.
Laura.
Sorry, Laura. Yes, that is absolutely the message that I've certainly been giving as well. So anybody that's got any concerns, please, you could refer them to me as well. You should all have my email address.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for raising that, Laura. I mean, you will recall the many opportunities that Anne Andrews gave everybody, every faith representative, to come back to her with examples of this, that, and the other, and views on this, that, and the other relating to their own faith. So, you know, it was a long and complex and detailed consultation. An awful lot of time went into it. We don't want it to be a failure. We want it to be a real success. So it's worth doing well, I think. And I hope that everybody's in agreement that what we plan to do is what we ought to do. Thank you very much. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, membership update then. It's looking a lot better. than it was, and that's thanks to you, Councillor Teasey. We've got that nice little trio now. We still have a vacancy for the free churches, but Peter is here getting the measure of us, and I'll find out later on what he thinks. And we are the one post that we are still searching hard for is to replace Paul Walker, who was one of the 3 Church of England representatives and who offered to go looking for someone to replace him. But I think Paul's been held up by the fact that your whoever it was you referred to, Rachel, is retired, and so she isn't there as someone to turn to. But we are looking for a Church of England representative. Paul is hopeful. He hasn't given up. He's just not been able to get back to me with a name yet. So I think we're possibly just one down on our list, which isn't too bad at all. May I turn to Helen, please, for a budget update?
Yeah, so from the yearly budget, which is 5,200, the current year's actual spend to date is 3,475. So there's 1,725 remaining in the budget for the current year. So I checked, and we've paid for this year the attendance of reps at the AGM, the online training package from the SACRE, Katie's advisor services, which is for more than a year, I think. So it's not, I don't think that was just 1 year. I think that's right. So there is still that money in there, Karen, and I did have a look as well. And the spend last year, the things that were done last year, the supply cover for the collaborative work, the sharing practice. If the same is done again this year, there is money in the budget to still do that. So I know that's very much on your radar, that you want to do that and continue with that. So
absolutely,
that's fair.
Well, thank you for telling us what's been paid for, because it's essential that we have the diocesan bill paid for Katie's work, as well as the online package, because I think we do make good use of NASACRE's training program. The thing that bugs me, and I should just shut up about it and do something about it, and I will do something about it, and that is Right to Clive. When I was in your role, Helen, as the local authority advisor for donkey's years, it was always 6,200. So somehow or other, somebody, and this, I'm saying this really for the benefit of Councillor Teasey, that somebody has shaved off £1,000 from the SACRE budget. And I aim to get that back one way or another, because I think we've got some robust plans to do work that can only do good in schools, relating to both the new syllabus, relating to sharing practice, and getting people to work together. So although we've got 1,700 left in the budget, it's presently not enough for the plans, but we'll see more about that later. But leave that one to me to write to Clive about and to ask for a rationale. And it may well be that we're told, well, you never spent the whole budget anyway, and that's probably true. But
I did check and chase it, and I was told that the budget last year was also 5,200.
I know. You see, these things change, and if you don't spot it at the time and challenge it, you're hung really by your own petard. Okay, well, thank you, Helen, for that. Any questions on the budget? Okay, I might well be coming to you, Maureen, and you, Shadia, and asking you what a daily rate of supply cover is, because I need to put some costings into the draft development plan. I've got some from Laura for primary work, but I need to double check that with secondary colleagues as well. Could we move on to item 9, please, which is the current development plan progress report, which, believe it or not, does change if you don't look at the small print and the colours. It does change it just a little bit now and again in between one meeting and the next. I'm always challenged to ask myself, have there been huge changes or any changes that will cause the colour to change? Just picking up the highlights here. I'm on page 1 of item 9 of this progress report. And the business of turning around the minutes is good. That's been on an upward trajectory, much better than it used to be. So well done, Lawrence, for managing that and his time. I think if you look at the training record, which we'll be coming up to when we get to item 14, the training attended and the training that is likely to be attended, we've got pretty good take up of the induction there. I don't know whether, Councillor Teasy, you went on the So You're New to SACRE training yet? I think it was last week, was it?
Good, it was very useful, it gave a good overview.
Oh, that's excellent. So that's I counted up at least 5 new members who've been on the induction training. So that's really, really helpful. And I think the only other point I wanted to pick up on the progress report has escaped me. So it's there, such as it is. Some aspects of it which remain in red, never got to get to amber, are because of my overambitious idea that we could achieve the impossible. Still, good, I suppose, to be ambitious rather than to be lacking in ambition. If there are no questions on that, let's go on to the draft development plan. Now, this is the engine which drives our work forward in the next 3 years. And if you recall at the last meeting, I tabled a paper which had the ideas for this development plan. We had limited discussion on it. What I'd like tonight really is some robust discussion, please, from people. Even if you aren't a teacher, tell us what you think. Do you think these are the right priorities? I'd hate people to think that I'd gone away and sat in a cupboard somewhere and dreamed it all up. I haven't. I've tried to take a pragmatic look at what we had in the last development plan, which was based on a self-assessment of SACRE, which was the tool that SACRE itself invented. And I'm constantly trying to find out whether SACRE's got an upgraded one of those. I'd like to find it if I could. Pick those things up that are going to have to continue, like proper induction for new people. You know, I think, Peter, did I send you the handbook, the SACRE handbook, to give you some idea of what we do? I hope I did.
I think you did a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's been a new one, and I'm going to circulate that round all SACRE members after this meeting. It's been a new iteration of the handbook for all SACRE members. I think it's very, very useful. But there are things in this that have to be done. You know, our job as a SACRE is to be on the case for RE, to identify where excellence exists, to make that known to other schools, to also identify where schools might be struggling. And I freely admit that we haven't perhaps been challenging enough to some schools that have been struggling, or perhaps haven't been giving RE the attention that it should deserve. And that is an ongoing thing. And if we only know GCSE and A-level data, then that's something that we're doing, but it's not enough, which is why these other main drivers relating to the REQM, the religious education quality mark criteria, you know, based on the audit tool, which is the borough's version of those criteria, why we're trying, and people like Laura are trying to embed these into the assessment. You talked, Maureen, about embedding assessment, the HMI's recommendations. It's got to be embedded in what we do for us to really get the learning to flow. And things like that are are the dynamic things that are expensive on this development plan. But there are some key questions I just want to challenge you with. I would like to think that everybody sitting around that table or on this screen is contributing their view on something. So obviously I've talked about induction. I'm on page 21 now, I think, in your pack, the first page of this draft. All I've done is to flesh out what I presented at the last meeting. And then we've got the whole strengthening of our role as a critical friend, using the only stuff we've got, which are exam results and Ofsted inspection reports. And there's so little attention, not with SIAMS reports in primary, that's different, but so little attention given to RE in Ofsted that the most I can do and say is only ever to look at those reports where they talk about social, moral, spiritual and cultural development. But we have, you'll see, as the fourth action in priority 2, carrying out a review of the borough schools' websites to identify practice in relation to RE and collective worship. And the success criteria related to that is to help us to know what schools are saying that they're doing by looking at that website, and who and how we do it. I envisage it to be divided between every member of SACRE. Given 2 or 3 schools, maybe we use a common template and we see what we find, and we report back and we compile a document that gives us an overview of what schools say they are doing in relation to RE and collective worship. Now, I hear on the grapevine various different things. I certainly hear some horror stories about collective worship just not happening. And yet, you know, there are some schools that say they are doing some things, and I don't know whether they are or not. But there must be schools in the borough that are doing absolutely brilliant things. And in the SIAMS reports, we do sometimes hear about these brilliant things. And even the Ofsted reports that I wrote the summary for this time have said some really fascinating things. But carrying out this review of websites, we did it before as a SACRE. It didn't go anywhere. For whatever reason, it didn't go anywhere. I'd like to think that we could put a composite document together with everything that we know only by looking at those websites. And it might raise some questions. It might lead us to some fabulous practice that we can share. It could lead us anywhere. So are you happy that this is something that we put in an action plan, development plan? Any comments, anybody?
I think I'm very happy with that. With collective worship having a bit more of a push this year. I know we've got 2 new members of staff started at my school this year, one of which is it's not an NQT anymore, what do they call an ECT. And so I've been trying to give them, like, this is kind of the template of how we do collective worship, and this is kind of my expectation of how collective worship should be run. But it's really, really hard, especially for an ECT who's never even been able to observe much collective worship, and having a bit more of a push on that, so that then we talk about it and then we can observe other people doing it, so then I can take some more information back.
Yeah.
And then it just helps us to improve our practice as well. It's not just for new colleagues or new teachers in the profession. Every school does collective worship differently. It's nice to bounce ideas off each other. So I'm keen for that push, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. Any other comments from the Charters group?
I think it seems like quite an easy way to have an overview of what schools say they're doing. Obviously, there may be issues where schools' websites are completely out of date, but maybe in those cases, it takes a contact of the school just to ask, you know, your website's really out of date, what are you actually doing, or what are your plans now?
Yeah, I mean, an investigation like this, it's not infringing anybody's privacy. It's there in the public domain. What a school publishes about itself, about what it's doing, is there for anyone to see. And it begs questions. And I don't mind at all asking those questions in the nicest, most diplomatic possible way. But I just would love to stumble across some wonderful practice that we could all celebrate. Margaret.
Yes, I'm really interested that this has come up because just anecdotally, my grandson who lives with us has just started school this term. And so in the last year, we did an awful lot of trawling through websites. We didn't have a chance to visit very many, but had a look at a lot of websites. And for some schools, it's very, very clear what's going on. And we're only talking primary and infant here, so I didn't look at secondaries. But it was quite interesting how there was an absence of any mention of this sort of thing in some of the schools that we looked at. So I think it would be a useful exercise.
Yeah. Well, are people happy to take responsibility for looking at one or two schools? Could you make time to do that? Yeah. And if so, I've just put down spring next year. Do you think that would be an okay time to do it?
Yeah.
Can I just ask something? Because I think getting that message of collective worship across on a website is really difficult. I think it is about going to visit a school. I think it is about going to open days. It is about having a tour from the head teacher or from the senior leadership team. I think from my perspective, I put the values, I put the, I try and put everything on the website, but that's not a statutory thing and it takes a long time. So small schools, we have to do it ourselves. I have to upload everything myself. And how do I get that message of what we do? Am I just listing what we do every day? Does that really get across the message that we want to? We're a caring, nurturing school that so, I can list what we do, but is that going to have an impact on someone choosing to come to my school? Well, actually, if they come and see me and have a tour with my children and with me, then they will get more of a feel about what collective worship is than just reading a list of what happened on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I can say that I've got Key Stage 2 assembly on a Monday and we have whole school hymn practice on a Wednesday and we have celebration assembly on a Friday. That's just listing what it is. Is that really giving a feel?
It's not.
Yeah, it's more provision rather than, you really getting a feel for the school. So I'm just at it from another perspective.
Yeah, I would like to think that if we came across schools with no references to some things that we might, I'm happy when I get whole again to go and visit schools and just out of curiosity, not as any threat, but in the spirit of inquiry to want to know what they are doing. I know that Katie has been leading on collective worship, so this is your area. But there may be other aspects of RE as well that arise as a question in my mind. So yeah, I'd certainly be open to, if the head didn't mind, going to visit and talking to either the head of RE or the RE lead or the head or whoever. But are you happy? Are you happy for this to be in the development plan? Is the question.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't, please do not allow me to get away with writing this thing and you're sitting there thinking this is inappropriate.
I think it was a unanimous yes from Charters.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay. And spring next year? I'm just thinking we've got too much on this term.
I think that's also unanimous yes.
Okay, that's great.
What would be good with that is thinking about, from a teacher perspective, our RE network meetings have voiced quite continually people that are struggling to find the right direction with collective worship. Could we, Katie, maybe think about adding that onto an RE network meeting again? I'm just thinking, I know from the ones when we had Anne, there were people who were quite openly saying they weren't doing collective worship and didn't really know where to start, and then we didn't really get any further with that. Whether or not we could do a bit of work on that before we kind of go in.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I can.
That would be better, wouldn't it, Katie? Do you want to come in on that?
And you know, we've got quite a good take up, I think, for the training next Monday. We've got about 25 people on the call, and we're doing a sort of an RE essentials and a bit of a national update. But I'm happy to tag some collective worship on the end of that if you think there's a demand there.
There certainly was. I'm going to end up with my words now, but certainly it has backed me up. There was a massive need for that before. And then obviously that direction kind of changed, and we were looking at the audit tool and things, but I don't really feel that was probably answered for a lot of people. No. And we might have new RE leads and things as well. So
Laura, when would you think the timing would be better to do this? In the autumn next year?
Maybe, because that would give people a chance. I'm just thinking about what we already know. We know that people aren't doing it. We need time to kind of look at how we would implement that.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, no problem, Laura.
Sorry, could I just add that the work of the chaplaincy at Windsor Girls has been of a really, really positive contribution. You know, we've managed to sort of team up with Christian Connections in schools, and we've got a faith group now who meet up regularly every Thursday. And in addition to that, you know, we've got the big questions again of whereby multi-faith issues are debated and discussed. So if there are some schools that are struggling, I'd say, you know, sort of develop a chaplaincy, you know, alongside, you know, with a local reverend, and they're usually quite happy, you know, to get things up and running, because ours seems to be working okay. It's small, it's growing, but
it's that kind of thing, Shadia, that I would love to showcase. I wonder, you know, Katie, if we could have something in the newsletter, feature in the newsletter about the Windsor chaplaincy at some point. Or if there's some other way of showcasing it, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm happy to, you know, if Shazia wants to write something and send it in, I'm happy to publish it in the newsletter, no problem at all.
Especially, Shadia, if you've got some youngsters' viewpoints, as Maureen managed to for the presentation. What has it brought to them? That's really interesting. Thank you very much. Now the next row, I'm very aware that time is shooting past. We're heading rocketing towards 6:30, but it's all very useful stuff. The next item I've highlighted in yellow because it has been mooted a few times, carrying out monitoring visits to evaluate RE, collective worship, in schools. And I then thought to myself, right, well, which schools? So all I could think to come up with would be, if we did such a thing, schools that were happy to host them. From the point of view of sharing what they were doing, they would be non-judgmental monitoring visits. Who would do them? Well, Katie's the obvious person, but we know that we would need but much more budget. If Katie were to carry out such visits, she may not have the time, with or without SACRE members alongside. What's your views? Could I have some views, please, on that? Karen, I know you've spoken before, but what would be your view about that? Would you see that as unnecessary, given that SIAMS exists, or do you think some schools that are not Church of England schools, non-denominational schools, would welcome it? What do you think?
I'm going to be totally honest. I was still thinking about the previous question, so I wasn't actually listening to what you were saying.
My point of view,
I was thinking about something.
From my point of view, when I was working in the Royal Borough, I had a visit and I found it really helpful, if for only to see the things that I should celebrate that perhaps I wasn't celebrating. It wasn't just a case of it being an inspection, shall we say, you know, that we were acknowledging what was good practice, we were celebrating the wins that we'd had, that sort of thing. And then at the feedback, sort of, you know, when it was shared at SACRE, then you had other schools coming in and saying, oh, we do that, or why don't you have a go at doing this, or whatever, you know? So I felt it was a supportive thing, not a judgmental thing, if you see what I mean.
I think it's a really good idea. Yeah, 100%. No, monitoring. I think it's what we need. We need to have some kind of ownership of what we're doing. So everyone's just kind of plodding on, doing their own thing, especially in small schools as well, where there's not a huge amount. I know there's some great network meetings that happen, but no one comes into school, no one sees it firsthand. So I think, yeah, it's a great idea.
That's lovely. Any of the other teachers want to venture a view?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lovely idea. And I bang on about this all the time, but there isn't enough support out there for people leading RE. So to have something like that, I think would really help give people direction.
Katie, what's your view about your personal time? Do you have any?
Well, if it's something that I think you're willing to pay for as extra and additional over and above, then I'm sure that the diocese would be happy to accommodate that. I think I wonder if monitoring is quite the right word, because I don't want people to feel like it's inspection.
Yeah.
I think it's celebration rather than inspection, but also you know, to kind of for people, it should be absolutely non-threatening. And I'm presuming you're talking about community schools as well as Church of England schools. I mean, Church of England schools might not necessarily want it because they have it anyway, and they have support of the diocese anyway. But community schools, you know, I've worked in community schools before, so you know, I'd be more than happy to support if that would be welcomed. But I think it's got to be, you know, I would want to be invited in, and you know, for my style of working is very upbeat, very celebratory, very much, you know, these are really great foundations. Let's tweak, let's think about what you might be able to do next steps and so on. So I think we just need to be careful how it's positioned. It's a bit chicken and egg, really. Do we get the money and do the visits, or do we plan the visits and then hope we get some money? Do you know what I mean? So I think it's about gauging whether there's any interest there. Again, maybe that's something I can do at the training next week.
It could,
but I don't want to launch it too soon. That's the thing.
No, it just occurred to me while you were speaking that it could all come from the training that you run on collective worship or whatever you run. If you get people doing things that they haven't done before, and then that leads to a visit. So it could all be quite seamless. But
we'll see.
What isn't evident is sufficient budget to do that and the other stuff as well. But thank you very much for contributing and giving it a thumbs up. It's enabled me to scrub out the word monitoring and just put carry out visits. You know.
Sharing good practice and what is RE like in our school. It's just
Yeah, that would be lovely. Okay. I think we're moving on to the priority 3, which is all about making sure that we are in SACRE are addressing what schools need to be addressed. And this is referring to the work that you've been doing, Laura, on the audit, trying to share and sharpen what you're planning to assess through the teaching units that you're devising. And so I'm just aware that I need to put a light on in a minute, but Laura, can I just hand over to you to say a few words about how it's all going while I put a light on? I'm not the fastest mover.
So what I'm trying to do, I think this is what you're asking. What I'm trying to do is make the RE audit tool more purposeful and not just another job or something to add like another layer of things to do, because we all have too many things to do. So if we can somehow link the use of the RE audit tool into, when we get there, implementing a new locally agreed syllabus, then hopefully we can get to a point where we've got something that's a bit more user friendly, and then hopefully can kind of give us opportunities in network meetings when we're all kind of conversing together to have a key point to focus on. That's quite a big job and can't be touched quite yet until that new agreed syllabus is there. But I think the RE audit tool Can you not see? So
She's dying.
I love your audit too.
Lovely.
How job we used it.
So yeah, I think to make that audit tool helpful for everybody and not to add another layer of work is always really helpful.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. You'll see that I've included as the second priority, a second action there, work on collective worship and sustaining the network meetings as a way of helping us to keep understanding what's going on with schools. Over on to 23, there's more on network meetings there and the criteria for evaluating those, the newsletters, which I think, Katie, you'll notice has gone to an electronic format for the newsletters, which I don't know, have you all received the latest newsletter?
Yes.
That's good. And then we are on to promoting the agreed syllabus once we get to it, which is why that's planned for the spring of next year. And on page 24, integrating the World Views exhibition alongside the launch. And I've put there, the actions for SACRE are very much to do with Group A members. So I'm really hoping that there will be active participation and commitment from all Group A members, that they will be able to have a stand representing all those faiths. So we can join this whole thing and launch a syllabus that is planning to be totally inclusive. And we've got a table with Dale and his Jewish faith artifacts or what have you, and Sagir with some evidence of his faith. I know full well that Anthony's going to be there as the humanist. I know Mike will be there. I'm hoping all the faith representatives will be there and we can really push this link so that we can introduce teachers to these people who ought to be number one person to go to if you want to have a speaker in your school talking about that faith, or a place to go to where you can take the youngsters. So is there anyone on Group A? Sagir, what do you think about that? When we have the launch next spring, are you going to be able to represent your faith at that launch?
Actually, I was talking to Lawrence earlier, and I was going to actually put forward Zia as the representative from the Muslim faith. Zia is currently looking after the school visits and also is part of the interfaith group. And I think he'd be a good person to come forward and actually take over from it. So moving forward.
Okay, so would you think that that would be more or less from the present moment, Sagir?
That's right.
Okay, that's good. We just had a note from Margaret. You haven't received a newsletter, so that needs, it's electronic, Margaret. Did it not, Lawrence, was the newsletter not sent out to, it wouldn't be, might not be, Margaret, because I think it goes out to schools. Have other SACRE members received the newsletter, the electronic newsletter?
No, I haven't.
No.
Okay,
no.
Can we have an action, Lawrence, please, that we actually, I will ask Elaine to circulate it. Could you liaise with Elaine, please, Lawrence, to make sure it's circulated to all SACRE members?
Nothing, Chair, yeah.
Thank you very much, Sagir, for that piece of information. And it, as part and parcel of developing the syllabus, we have to help teachers to get their heads around it. And you'll see on page 24 here, the second action there, supporting SACRE members who are serving teachers to meet, plan, teach and evaluate units of work. And Laura has already talked about doing this from the point of view of embedding assessment criteria using the RE quality mark criteria into the units of work, but also using as a starting point the new syllabus. And Laura and I have had some preliminary discussions, and I know that Laura and Rachel and did Shanaz arrive?
She's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Shanaz, let's hear your voice.
Got a bit of a cold, you heard me sneezing.
What do you think, Shanaz, about this partnership working? You've already worked a bit with Laura, haven't you, and Rachel too?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't quite get to have my meeting, but no, it's a really good idea. I think it's it'll be great for us to be able to collaborate together in order to discuss, you know, what we do and everything. So that'd be good, yes, going forward.
Using the new syllabus, Rachel.
Yeah, of course, using the new syllabus, yeah.
Rachel, what's your comment on this?
I really enjoyed my morning with Laura. I think it was really helpful to see how she used the audit tool mostly. Actually, that was kind of our focus that session. And it is something that I would like to be able to have the opportunity to do again at some point, time, money permitting. But it was helpful. I enjoyed it, and it kind of spurred, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It
energized you.
That's the one. Yeah. And actually, it gave me things that I could go and take away and do pretty much straight away. Like, it wasn't then that I had to think about all sorts of stuff. It was practical things that I could go and run with.
Thank you. Well, Laura and I discussed this, didn't we, Laura? And you costed it for me. And I came up with a model, which was 1 day together for 3 teachers, the 3 of you, plus a twilight to evaluate after the teaching, and then a twilight to evaluate, the twilight not being any cost at all. And taking into account your supply costs, that came to £870 to do 1 unit for the 3 of you to meet for 1 day to plan 1 unit of work using the new syllabus. Maureen, and Shadia, what would be your response to the idea of being supported financially to meet together with Tom, the 3 of you, to do the same thing? Highlight an area of the syllabus you want to work on, come up with a planning unit together, go away, teach it, come back for a twilight, evaluate it, and then share what happened.
I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. You know, particularly because there are so many curriculum changes taking place. You know, for Key Stage 4, you know, with the recent changes from the exam boards and so forth. So yeah, so seeing as we've all got secondary schools, you know, within our remit, you know, that'd be really, really good. So yeah, great idea. Thank you.
You're up for that, Maureen? You up for that?
Yeah, ditto.
That's great. Well, you'll see when you look at action number 3 that the next step, if it all went swimmingly well, would be to share the outcomes at either network meetings or training sessions. And I know that if Tom were here, he would be saying he'd be the first one to be up for that. So I'd like to do some practical costings. I've done them for primary. I'd like to do some practical costings for the secondary trio. I consider SACRE to be hugely blessed by having 9 serving teachers. Fabulous. We've got 9 schools. Well, we haven't actually, because 2 of them are in another authority, but we've got 7 schools. I won't mention that again, but it's there. So the sooner you 2 defect, the better. We just have a nucleus of some really exciting work, I think, and I want to stand on my head to get the money for it. So if you're happy to keep that in here, then that's great. At the bottom of page 4, we've got the hub emerging, the Berkshire Hub, where we traditionally have done some exciting project work. I think one of the things we could do for the hub, if we've got some units of work going really well, flying, we could share them with the hub. We could make an after-school session. We could have an online thing, and anybody across Berkshire could join in. It would just be a lovely thing to do. And then whole area 6 is developing the role of SACRE, which I think you know I feel very, very strongly about, particularly getting recognition, getting the kite mark through RE hubs, which is priority 6, activity 2, promote RE hubs training for all faith group members. And I think when I last went on the RE hubs website, there were 6 of us who were accredited, which is really good. And then I've said about representing your faith at the launch, which I think is the starting point of setting up a whole system enabling schools to know where to go. The interfaith work that we want to do will come up in just a moment, and I think the rest speaks for itself. I'm sorry that that's been a bit long-winded, but I just needed to galvanize you and make sure that, because this is the thing I'm going to be reviewing and evaluating progress. And if we haven't got the activities and the priorities right, then it'll be meaningless. People will feel it's just a complete flop, but don't want it to be that. Thank you very much for all those who participated in that debate. I think we're just on to this next piece of paper. It's 6:45. I'm mindful of time. This is a celebrating Interfaith Week in schools, and you'll see that that is coming up the 9th to the 16th of November. And it could really bring some things together here. But first of all, I'm going to ask Mike, would you like to share, Mike, what's going on in Maidenhead in the name of Interfaith?
Sure, I will do. It's actually not in the context of Interfaith Week.
No, but it's interfaith as a kind of...
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So this is the Windsor Maidenhead Community Forum is this year marking the Week of Prayer for World Peace with an event. So we're having I've got some old style hard copy for those who want it here. It's an interfaith gathering. It's on a Saturday afternoon, on Saturday the 18th of October. It will have a program, an interfaith program, and followed by refreshments and so on. Everyone is invited, and the program, as you would expect, is, as we've said here, will include contributions from across the kaleidoscope of worldviews in our town. So we've got a rich and diverse program already. I wanted to share it basically just for this, so the SACRE members would be aware of it, and I'm very happy to send the electronic flyer as well, which you please do distribute it. We, of course, have no idea how many people are going to come because there's no registration or anything required. So we're hoping it's actually being held at All Saints Church. We're hoping this church is going to be absolutely packed because we think our hunch is there's a lot of people out there who care about peace and who want to be associated with anything positive about peace. And so that was really just to ask. And also just for the teachers particularly here, the program, we have a program which is a very nice program, very balanced and everything. We're very, very keen to get young people involved and also to have as much diversity as possible. So wherever possible, if something, if it's a song or a poem or a dance or something, or a young person playing a beautiful piece of music that somehow is associated with peace, something that will really enrich the program rather than just a spoken word, then do please let me know. And we can see about in trying to incorporate it into the program. We're obviously mindful that we want the program to fit within an hour and a half. So we also have to, but anyway, if you happen to know in your schools anyone who, young people particularly who would love to have an opportunity to do something positive to contribute in some way to this, then the community forum will be love to hear from you, please. Thank you.
I think it would be good, Mike, if we could get this this flyer, maybe your flyer out to our schools. So if you could resend that to me, and I'll send it on to Elaine.
Will do. Yeah.
I picked that up because this paper, if you look down at the bottom of it, this last third says why SACREs are central. Uniquely placed to champion Interfaith Week locally, supporting schools in finding speakers. And the fourth bullet point there is exactly what Mike has just been talking about, inspiring creativity and dialogue, guiding schools to take up activities such as interfaith feasts, speaker panels, faith trails, etc. And expressing a view about world peace in a creative way could be wonderful, could be really wonderful for some youngsters to do that at your
absolutely
at your event. And then over on the back, the other side of the page, Interfaith Week is a chance not only to celebrate diversity, but also to showcase the vital role SACREs play in bringing communities together. And that's my mission, for SACRE to take more of a lead. So thank you for that. So it's just for information, and it happens to align the two.
May I just say, sorry, for the Interfaith Week itself in November, I need to just check this, but I'm fairly sure that we're having, as usual, the Interfaith Walk in Maidenhead. So there is actually an activity for that week in Maidenhead, and it will be, I think, possibly from the synagogue to the mosque and onto one of the churches or something. I'm not quite sure exactly what the arrangements are for this year, but I will find out exactly, and I'll communicate with you, Karen.
Thank you.
Remember, so that where something's going on in school about Interfaith Week, you can also reference there's this walk if you'd like to join it and go to everybody.
Yeah. I'm going to skip very lightly over the feedback from schools and school visits because we're really tight for time, but I'd just like to pay tribute to Maureen's masterful timetabling of her Year 10 Worldviews Day. 3 of us were involved in that, including myself, back in the summer. Anthony, just a few words from you.
Yeah, I think we spoke to 6 different classes during the day.
Yeah.
So it was full on. So the breaks were really appreciated because it was summer, so it's the second, third last day of the term.
Yeah.
So there's lots of energy in the room. I'm not sure if it's because of us or the moving end of term, but no, I really enjoyed it. The kids were really engaged, kept me on toes with questions. And they were an inspiration, actually. So well behaved.
No.
And I had the privilege, Anthony, of sitting in on your session, and I was very moved. I'm very impressed. And
well, I worked closely with Maureen because she wanted me to cover the particular of abortion, which was very much outside my comfort zone. So thank you for the feedback.
Oh, it really worked very well.
Karen, days after students get coming up to me and beyond, Miss, that was a really good day. They were inspired. So I was really pleased with this feedback from pupils. They thoroughly enjoyed just having an opportunity to explore different faiths from different angles. And
just to give people who don't know what we're talking about a flavour of it, a Worldviews Day. How many different worldviews did you have, Maureen? Can you remember?
We had Hinduism, Judaism, we had the Baha'i faith, we had Sikhism, saying it loudly, Sikhism. We had Islam, Christianity.
Right to life.
We had
the right to life.
the pro-life view on abortion, which was very good. The gentleman who delivered the session.
He was. I saw him too. Excellent.
Sensitivity and respect for the students' views. So it was very good, I think. From the students' perspective and from my perspective, it was a successful day.
Yeah, that's excellent. Are there any other contributions from other SACRE members who've been into schools that they want to just share before we move on? Chris, have you been anywhere? We can't see you, but I hope you're still there.
I'm still here, yes. No, I haven't been anywhere, thanks, Karen.
Okay.
Karen, we've got someone here.
Oh, can I just ask if Lauren's going to recirculate everyone's contact details? I think we went through this last year, but just so we've got an up-to-date list of everyone's email addresses so we can contact everyone in schools.
Yeah, I can do that. Just obviously with some I think they still need to get their consent and whether they're fine with the emails being circulated. But most here at Consensus just the odd few that need to.
Yeah, if there are any new members, Lawrence, we maybe need to just double check.
Sure thing, yeah.
That they're happy to have their email circulated. Thank you very much for that. Hopefully that will increase as time passes. I'm going to unusually gloss over the Ofsted reports, although they are fascinating. And there's a real feeling, I reread them this afternoon in preparation for this meeting. So here we've got King's Court first, St Michael's Church of England Primary in Ascot, and we've got St Edmund Campion in Maidenhead, and St Mary's Catholic in Maidenhead. Now, 2 of those schools were good when they were last inspected, and they were good again when Ofsted came the second time. St Mary's went from requiring improvement to good, and St Edmund Campion went from requiring improvement to outstanding. So, you know, fabulous outcomes, but more importantly than the single judgment word, which has now been dropped, thank goodness, it's the emphasis in these reports on teachers and schools enabling youngsters to have a really full, rounded, balanced, reasoned, diverse view of society, to enable them to become really good citizens, to take their place in the world. And if you haven't read these little extracts, I just pick out what I can that's relevant to us. And I think that it's really heartening. There's some really excellent bits that I would have read if I'd had time, but I think that they're fabulous. They really are. Now, Lawrence put together the year's training program, including some of the other things that we do apart from SACRE. But it seemed to me that there was quite a good take-up of training, particularly from the point of view of the induction. Do please make sure that you take every opportunity to take up a role, take up a place on a training program if one comes up. I would like to just mention the Southeast Faith Forum meetings, the 5th of which was a couple of weeks ago, and Katie and Laura were both there, and it was Rabbi Renee Svetzel's, your Rabbi Dale, speaking about the Jewish faith. Laura, give me a couple of sentences. What did you think?
Inspired, informative, amazing. I liked how he rounded things off. That wasn't sentences, that was words, I understand. It was really good. It really rounded up the Jewish faith in a really nice way. It certainly gave me some things to go back and think about with our own RE lessons.
Katie, what did you think of that session?
It was really good, really good. Almost, a potted history of the Jewish faith from day one until present day, and really engaging discussion, really balanced and really refreshing.
What an amazing man. If you'd like to receive it, well, whether you would do or not, I'm going to circulate the link to that because it was recorded. And that's the 5th of these lectures, and I've managed to get to all 5 so far. And they've just been incredible. They really have. Someone who really knows what they're talking about, able to reflect on that and to share their wisdom and then take questions afterwards. I just loved it. It's really, really good. Item 15 is the Pan-Berkshire Hub. I tried my best to find out what might be going on with regard to the leadership of the hub, which brings together all the 6 bits of Berkshire to reconstitute Berkshire. And at the moment, since Anne's retirement, and 1 or 2 chairs have disappeared of the SACREs across Berkshire, the future is pretty uncertain. So I'll hope to be able to report later on when I can finally make some contacts. I'm in contact with Bill, who is high up in SACRE, who is the advisor in Slough, but I haven't got the feel for what's going on with the hub and what it might continue to do, although I know that it's your wish that we do that. Do work with other authorities, I mean. Item 16 was just to reiterate the fact that the electronic newsletter has gone out this term, and to give our thanks to Katie for doing that. And we will circulate that to SACRE members. Now,
just to say, Karen, I just dropped the link in the chat if anybody wants to look at it.
That's great. That's great. Under any other business, I have mentioned the newly revised handbook for SACRE members, which I will circulate as well with everything else after this meeting. And I'm just going to invite Margaret to unmute and say something about an invitation from the Quaker family.
Yes, thank you very much, Karen. We were very sorry that we weren't able to invite SACRE to the meeting house for this meeting. Unfortunately, our Wi-Fi is not up to live streaming, but I did want to let members know that actually we've got an open morning at the Maidenhead Quaker Meeting House, which is in West Street in Maidenhead, on Saturday the 1st of November. And there'll be a bit of information. I mean, there'll be information about the meeting house itself, which has been there for a long, long time, and people to talk about Quakers. There will also be coffee and cake, and any information. But if anybody would be interested in coming to the meeting house, just having a chat, seeing what's what, Saturday, the 1st of November, Maidenhead Friends Meeting House in West Street.
Thank you very much for that, Margaret. Do take her up on that. I must just thank you as well for being so welcoming and wanting us to come to the meeting house, but it couldn't be done. And it couldn't be done that we could go to the mosque either, and nor could it be done that we could go to the Hindu temple, because it's in Southall, it's too far away for everyone to drive. So whilst the Spirit is willing us to be in different places of worship so we can all learn together, sometimes the practicalities defeat us. Nevertheless, the willingness is very much appreciated. So we'll go where we can. And speaking of which, if you look right at the bottom of your agenda here, the agreed syllabus conference will be sent out, be confirmed once we have an idea of a date that suits everyone. The next SACRE meeting will be on December the 1st, and it will be again virtual, as it always is in December because of the time of year and the darkness and the weather, etc., via Zoom. So unless anybody has anything further to add.
We've got Mike.
Tara, may I briefly, I know it's very right at the end of the meeting, for those who haven't seen it, there's a very beautiful piece in the Maidenhead Advertiser this week on behalf of the mosque. I must say, I was choked when I read it to my wife, and it's a really beautiful. Maybe I should just circulate it to you, Karen, and you can.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
It's a very acknowledging all the divisions in society and everything. It says, we must reach out, not retreat. The doors of Maidenhead Mosque are open. You are welcome, not just to visit, but to talk, to ask, to learn. Community doesn't happen by accident. It's built person by person, step by step, conversation by conversation. And it's just a beautifully.
It's by Zia, the guy who's
going to join it. It's actually written by Zia, who is replacing Sagia.
Well, that's a perfect endorsement, isn't it?
It's a stunningly, and if Maidenhead Mosque was always a good place to go on a visit anyway. But I mean, this really just so beautifully expresses the sentiments.
Sagia and I had an email exchange because I asked him if it were possible for us to meet at the mosque. And one thing led to another. And he then told me how many schools do visit the mosque. And the fact there's a building program on at the moment, and the mosque is going to be even bigger and better than it is at present. And I was really cheered to hear that. So I look forward to reading that. And it ties up beautifully with a question that I was able to ask Rabbi Feitzel, which was where and who, if at all, we can look to in this troubled world for hope. Although I don't think I put it quite as succinctly as that. I think I struggled a bit to develop the question. And what his answer was in dialogue, one-to-one. And it's just what you've said, isn't it? We build community and peace through understanding one-to-one, listening one-to-one. And I just thought it was sad that he couldn't name some fantastic world leader or hadn't thought to in the time that was allocated as a shining example of a saint to be, who was doing the opposite of some of these Putin tyrants. But I've so thought that was so wise, and it sounds as though it's just exactly what that article is saying as well. Anybody like to say anything else before we finish?
Can I just really quickly just say thank you for the adjustment with the dates? I really appreciate that movement. I know it's tricky with all the things happening this time of year, so just a big thank you from me.
Well, I hope you had a good Rosh Hashanah.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Just hope you feel better soon.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's going to be 6 weeks before I get rid of this, but you know, I'm stuck with it now. But I just want to finish by saying a big thank you to Maureen for hosting this meeting and coping with everything and getting up and down endlessly to let people in. I hope those of you going for a meal have a really great time, and I'm seriously jealous. So see you at the next SACRE meeting, everybody.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much.